Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. I just want to give you, what I'm going to try to do is put a face to what we've been talking about this morning. I think it's been great to see all of the data that was presented because it's laid the foundation for what we're going to be talking about this afternoon. But I come from several lenses, you know, myself starting in elementary school, speaking only Spanish, and asked by my teacher to wear donkey ears because, you know, Spanish was not allowed. And when I was asked to put those ears on, I thought to myself, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a PhD and I'm going to become the chair of the Department of Dual Language. Yeah, right. No, it was humiliation. But I'm very proud to say that I'm able to turn that around because, you know, currently I am able to run the largest bilingual teacher education program in California. So just to give you that bit. Let me see. So what I would like for us to focus on in the 15, now 14 minutes that I have left is looking at when we talk about English learners or dual language learners, and you know, there's always this conversation about what do we call our students. But basically, the most important thing is that we have to look at the typologies that these students, because we're not all the same, you know, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a bit. And then also looking at the importance of having teachers, educators, with the linguistic and global competence necessary to effectively work with the target population. And then, of course, I'm going to end with looking at research-based dual language programs as a very effective model for working with English learners. Okay, so lots of talk about data earlier, but one of the most important things that I want us to focus on is the fact that English learners are more likely than any other group to be taught by teachers who lack the appropriate preparation. That's something that I most worry about, and where the focus of my work is, because you know we need to do better in that area, and I think that Angelica earlier talked about that, and I applaud her for the work that they're doing in New York. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a 2-minute video because I want to put a face to what this is all about, so that we can just kind of sit in the chair of an English learner working with a teacher that has not been prepared to work with English learners. This is an award-winning immigration film.
Isn't that right, Cameron? Yes, Ms. Pete. Okay, great. Everyone listen up. So we're going to work all week from the answer, the information in the story, okay? We're going to go ahead and test, factual test, and try the actus test. Oh, test your test. We're going to grade. You go to B. First on page 3.
¿Qué dijo? ¿A poco va a empezar el examen?
No, es una práctica.
We're going to take notes from the story, and we're going to turn it into a math problem, and we're going to walk through it together, okay?
That's how it looks.
So the boy ran 3 blocks. So everyone write 3 blocks. How long did it take him to run 3 blocks? Very good. 6 minutes. All right, so then we take 3 blocks and 6 minutes,
¿Por qué
right?
no corre con los bloques?
How long will it take him to run 20 blocks? What do we do? How many minutes is that per block?
8 minutes.
Try and remember to raise your hand if you want to answer, okay? No, it's not 8 minutes. Michelle.
15 minutes?
Nope, not 18 minutes. Yes, Enrique?
40?
40, yeah, very good. How'd you get 40?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, 40 is the right answer. How did you get it? You forgot. Okay. Does anyone know how we get 40? Yes, Moises. That's right. Very good. Great. Can you tell us how you got that? Yep, very good. But can you explain to the class what you did here, how you got that? Okay, all right, you guys, settle down.
That is so dumb.
Joe, do you want to lose your recess?
No.
Okay, then.
Okay, so I have a whole list of references, and that is there if you would like to watch the whole film. I highly recommend it because it's very, very powerful and really makes us think about the work that we're doing with English learners. So in looking at this film, in looking at this short clip, one of the things that, hold on a second. Looking at factors that inhibit, student learning. So when a student like this comes to a classroom, and you have to look at, what's happening in the classroom. So it's an English-only program, which was very obvious. There was little to no proficiency in the language of instruction that the student came with. And the classroom factors is that the pedagogy was characterized by teacher frontedness. She was in charge of everything that was going on, going back and forth. And there was a very limited opportunity for any oral language production. And then even the cognates, how people say, like, oh, just use the cognates. Well, if teachers are able to use the cognates properly and also notice that false cognate, everybody, I heard some laughter because, yes, it's funny, but at the same time, it's very sad, right? That he was left to his own recourses to try to figure it out. And then, of course, that the English assessment was only, that the assessment was only in English. And, of course, there was no authentic student engagement. So these are just some of the quick things. And, again, this could be a whole class lesson, but we don't have time for that. But looking at some of the factors that were supporting the student learning, and basically on his behalf. So he came with the content knowledge in the primary language, as you saw from his calculations there. He had primary language literacy. He did his best to try to follow the teacher body language, the little that there was. And he used a language broker, and again on his own. And actually that's how I got in trouble when I got my donkey ears, is because I asked the question in Spanish. I said, ¿Qué dijo la maestra? And they said, donkey ears for you. By the way, I want to tell you that I did meet with that teacher, and what she told me after I graduated from college, and she told me, Cristina, I was sincerely wrong. I really thought that the sooner that students learned English, the better off you would be. So he was looking at visual aids and made his conclusions from that, and then also his use of his personal Spanish-English dictionary, which is what his family gave him to go to school. That was their gift to him. And also the fact that this student took initiative to help. Many students don't. Many students will just sit and try to figure it out on their own. But real quickly, just looking at what happened in this video. But the most important thing to consider is when we're working with English learners, and this is when I work with teachers, when I work with professional development, opportunities, it's that we can't treat everybody and say, oh, how many English learners do you have? Oh, well, I have 40% of them or whatever. You have to know that every single student comes with a specific typology. This is just very, very quickly, just to give you an idea, but some students actually come to school being bilingual, okay? That my kids went to school being bilingual. Some students speak some English. Some speak no English, such as Moises in this video. Some come with primary language literacy, and then you have to also look at the ethnic background and the dialect. So dialect is also very important to consider. And then also looking at the quality of prior schooling. And in this is the mobility that we were talking about earlier. And then, of course, socioeconomic status, we all know, definitely plays a role in that. So what we look at then is looking at the promise that bilingualism has in working with Latinos. And earlier we saw all the data regarding just how English learners are not doing very well at all, and it's criminal. Someone said it's sad, but it's actually criminal that that's going on. And then Latinos are the school population that is most likely to not graduate from high school, and that's very worrisome for us. But when we start to look at the issues of elements of cultural proficiency, we need to look at how do we begin to contextualize how we develop curriculum. So in order to do this, so this is the work of Quesada and Lindsay, looking at what are the elements that are necessary. And again, these are just some real basic. I have a whole list of resources. I have like 10 slides for you afterwards, and also with a glossary. Because if we don't look at the issues of the community, and it's almost like where teachers and administrators or leaders have to become researchers of their community. And in that, begin to value diversity. So this is, it almost becomes we're talking about paradigm shifts, but an ideological shift, where we have to look at how do we begin to include the school community and value what they bring with them. Also, managing the dynamics of difference, looking at when you're solving problems in the classroom. That was a case, a non-example, right? But using multiple perspectives and being able to problem solve and with conflict resolution. So you have a lot of the critical thinking going on there. Adapting to diversity is critical for teachers. I heard Angelica say something about that every teacher is a teacher of English learners, and that's exactly how teachers need to be prepared. They have to know that. I remember I had one of my evaluations that teacher said, I don't believe that I will ever have an English learner in my classroom. And 5 years later she came and she says, my whole class is full of English learners. But so you may think it's not going to happen to me, but we do need to begin to adapt to this, and we see the demographics, we see the direction that we're going, so it's time for us to really face it and do something about it. And of course, when we begin to do this, is we have to institutionalize culture knowledge to begin to close the access gaps, the opportunity gaps, and the achievement gaps. So when we start to look at what are some characteristics of effective teachers, and this is, a lot of the work, in fact, I'm on sabbatical right now, and this is exactly what my sabbatical is. I've been going into schools, dual language schools, and schools with large numbers of English learners, and this is the research that I have embraced, and I'm also doing it in Mexico and indigenous schools as well, but I'm not going to talk about that today. But one of the things that I find is that effective teachers of multilingual learners are teachers that really see themselves as researchers, as intellectuals, that you walk into the community and you research what your children are all about, what the community is all about. And you change your role from being that, you saw that frontedness, that pedagogy of the teacher being at the front of the room. Even though they walk around, sometimes they think like, well, I move around, but it doesn't matter. If you're not a facilitator, if you're not facilitating this, and when I'm talking about facilitating, I'm talking about being able to group children in a way where there will always be language brokers within the groups. Okay, and then of course teachers as collaborators, and when we talk about collaboration, it's collaboration, yes, with each other as teachers, but with students, with community. And the program that we work with at San Diego State is the collaboration is with the university. Everything that we do, we collaborate with our districts, because if we are not able to prepare and develop teachers that the districts need, then there's no point in it. Our students that are graduating from our program have several job offers before they even graduate. By about February, they're already starting to get job offers because of their expertise. So when we start looking at dual language, we look at dual language education. This is where we have seen we have plenty of research that indicates that this is where it leverages the linguistic capital of immigrant youth and heritage speakers to realize their academic potential. So this umbrella I have here, I said I provided a glossary because really, I think it's really important when we start looking at dual language education as to the different types of dual language education that there is available. And so I'm going to just quickly review this educational programs, because we have to be very careful when we talk about bilingual education, because it's really, for example, I'm auditing a district right now, and they said, oh, we have dual language programs. So I went to visit, and what they have are transitional programs. And if you look at where it says deficit, you're looking at basically the goal is, the linguistic goal is dominant English, and it's a simulation. And then it varies. Some of the students, get transitioned out when they're in in second grade, some of them in third grade, and there's just no rule there. So the program that we advocate in our department and the work that we do and the programs that I'm doing some research on have to do with two-way dual language programs. Okay, so we have to look at when we start to talk about bilingualism is that it's the quality of the program and also the fidelity of the program. Oh my gosh, my time is up. Okay, well, let me see. Okay, I talked too much, too quickly. Okay, just real quickly, I want to tell you, as far as the status of dual language programs, this is some of the latest count that we have, and it's really more than this, but this is what's documented. But in San Diego, by next year, we're going to be having close to 100 programs, and right now, I am working with 10 different school districts, 10 different schools that we are going to be opening up programs. That's what my sabbatical has been, is because we have seen that if we work with dual language, research-based dual language programs, we will make a difference in the education of our dual language learners. And I am done. I have all of this in the PowerPoint, but another thing to consider is the seal of biliteracy. And these are the states that have adopted the seal of biliteracy. If you look at the dark, that's where those are the ones that already have adopted it, and those that are green are under consideration, and so on and so forth. But I think this is where we're going, and we really seriously need to look at this as a way to change the work that we're doing. And I'm done. Okay. 15 minutes go by very fast.